Hi guys, welcome back to Outsourcing Angel, and today I have a special guest, Friska. Anyway, we're here because when I had a conversation with her about outsourcing, what was interesting is that she has helped larger organizations to get onto the wagon of outsourcing. And so her role is in change management. I really thought that if she was on the show today, she could share with us, I guess, some of the learnings we can gain from the bigger companies. You know, a lot of times people wonder, like, how is it going to transition well, merging offshore with local, and how do I manage expectations or misunderstanding. And so I wanted to bring Friska here, so welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So first up, tell us a little bit about what is change management and I guess some background in your career.
There's a lot of cloak and dagger mystery around what is and what isn't change management. So simply put, it's the discipline that helps transition from A to B, whatever that A to B could mean. So the bulk of my experience lies in digital transformation, changing organizational culture, or reengineering processes. And shifting to offshoring or outsourcing is an example of a shift in strategy.
Okay, so why is it that these companies decide, okay, it's time for offshoring?
Well, simply put, it was a cost initiative, so reducing costs out, and they were open to exploring, to doing things differently, because the world is getting more competitive now. So what got you to where you are today is not going to get you to where you're going to be tomorrow. So you need to get some sort of edge over your competitors, and cost is one of those edges.
Gotcha. And so then what were some of their concerns already with, making this move?
The time difference, the lack of trust, obviously, the potential for miscommunication, because obviously it's very easy for you and I to sort an issue out right here in real time. It's different when you're in different countries and different time zones. And it was uncharted territory for a lot of people.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so then what did they do in terms of engaging you? What were they hoping to gain?
They were hoping to minimize the productivity dips as much as possible and to get buy-in and alignment. So it was a pilot phase, and if the first 6 months didn't go well, they wouldn't pursue additional offshoring arrangements.
Yeah. So talk me more about the buy-in. It's like, what is a buy-in? Why is it necessary? Because what could go wrong if there is no buy-in?
Basically, if there's no buy-in, the change won't happen. So
when we're talking buy-in, it's like the staff,
commitment and ownership and acceptance of the change.
And the buy-in from all their staff, or just the key managers or stakeholders? Like, who are they trying to get the buy-in from?
All the staff. I mean, it's very easy for the leaders to buy into it because they were remunerated against this, right? So, but the other people who were not incentivized to outsource, what was the WIFM for them? When I say WIFM, it's what's in it for them.
Yeah.
So how is going to offshoring going to make them look good?
Yeah, that's right. So if you're a business owner or on the top, you know that you're trying to cost saving or work, make things efficient. So does it mean, what are some of the concerns from the staff members?
Well, first of all, what I said about the leaders being driven by the cost, but the next level down were the people that were in charge of sending the work. They weren't. So they were assessed against client satisfaction, against timeliness. Reducing cost was not one of them. And so that was an example of a change that needed to be managed, a misalignment. So we had to change all these KPI structures, etc.
Okay. Yeah. And then I guess with the staff, are they feeling like they're threatened by jobs offshore, or how do you manage that?
Not so much threatened, but they wanted to. Well, they thought other people's jobs were at threat in Australia, in New Zealand, in the US, in the UK, and at threat to lower cost countries.
Okay, so tell us more the detail, like in terms of how did you manage that? So let's just say the second level were more concerned around the customer service, etc. So how did you manage that change to make sure that they have that buy-in?
Well, first of all, I had to get them onto a single source of truth. So this is what it is and what it isn't. And I actually created a document that was about myths and methods. Like myths, lower cost countries are lower quality. That's such a big myth.
Yes.
Like just because they're not educated in Australia or the US doesn't mean they're not as good as Australian and US counterparts. And then it was a matter of education and open, honest dialogue. And it wasn't just me. Like, I can't change an entire company of 30,000 people, which is how much people were in this organization. But the leaders had to step up and really embrace this change and support it as well. So they had to help manage resistance. And I worked with them to develop messaging, Q&As, etc. So when they were asked a maybe challenging question, they knew exactly what to say.
Okay.
Because any sort of wavering in response, it's going to undermine any credibility about the change.
So it sounded like you kind of really had that clarity. Okay, what are kind of the people's concerns, and how do you answer that in a most, unbiased way so that they understood? And then how do you actually roll it out? Like, is it like a workshop? Is it like one-time education? It's like, how does it act, like, what is that time frame in
I wish it was one-time education. That would make my life a lot easier. So it basically, you keep going until the resistance is reduced, until the resistance is managed. So I'm sure you, coming from a social marketing background, you may have heard key messages need to be repeated 4 to 7 times. It's actually a lot more than that, especially now post-pandemic. Our ability to absorb information is 2.5 times less. So how you roll it out is you raise awareness, first of all. Second is desire. You get people to want to support this change. Third is knowledge. So give them the know-how, like this is how you engage an outsourced resource. This is what you can expect. These are the SLAs. This is what we will hold them accountable to. Service level agreements.
Yep.
So for example, if it's a priority 1 urgent call, the SLA may be 3 hours. If it's a 2, so these are the commitments that the offshored resource makes to the organization. And then after knowledge is ability. Now, they need to practice engaging with these offshore resources. So this means scenario planning, role playing, so making them safe, comfortable with doing something new. And lastly is the reinforcement. I'm a big believer in reinforcement. So unfortunately, human nature, we're programmed to really just remember the bad things. So I was brutally ruthless with uncovering the gold. So what are the wins? What are the success stories? And every single day there was a success story.
Okay.
Like this happened in Algeria, this happened in Sydney, this happened in the Philippines. So constantly feeding them with examples of just what's possible.
Okay.
Yeah, and to really kind of kill any negativity.
Yeah. So then with bigger organizations like this, did they kind of hire 1 or 2 people to test it out, or was it like 20 people at a time and then
larger? So it was an entire region. Like for example, Australia, then UK, then the US.
Yeah. As in, so the whole of the company within that area, they go and hire how many staff member though? How many, like an offshore team?
Oh, I see. There were so many. We had 3 delivery centers in Hyderabad, Mumbai, and Chennai. All up over 1,000.
Wow. And so when they're testing it all out. It's not testing like
it's not just
2 people to see how they're going.
It's testing, have we got the right lines of communication? Have we got the right delegation of authority? Do we have the right people in the right roles? And, there had to be someone over there managing it. Is that point of contact the right person as well? Because you can't be dropping everything and flying to India every time there's an issue.
Yes.
So you need trusted people on the ground.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, back to the other stakeholders, which are the staff members. How did you manage them to kind of understand that, no, your job isn't being threatened, that you are still going to be able to add value in a different way? So what did you...
Okay, so when people resist change, it's because they're fearing something. They're fearing losing something. And in my experience, what they lose distills down to the 5 Ps. So it's pay, position, prestige, protection, or power.
Wow.
So which of those Ps is under threat for this particular person? So how you find that out is through observation.
Okay, so let's go slowly. I really like that. Pay is obvious. So it's thinking they might lose out in money terms.
Yep.
Position. So they're
like, is my job at stake?
Okay. Yep.
Power. Like maybe they had a team of 50 people in Australia. Now it's down to 10. Like, oh, that's a big bruise to my ego.
Yeah.
Protection. So maybe with this restructure, someone was protecting them, and that person may be gone now. So they're underperforming.
Now they're vulnerable.
Yeah. Now someone's shining a light that they're underperformance. Like, damn, I don't like this.
Oh God.
Yeah. And lastly, prestige.
Okay.
So did they have a prestigious title, and has it now been demoted or downgraded?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So back to what you were saying is you assess to see in that particular person, like, what are they ticking? It could be ticking all 5.
It could be. Yeah. And know that I'm not the person to address those 5, but it comes down to the direct supervisor. So I'll elevate this risk to whoever they're reporting to and just say, hey, I think A, B, and C are feeling this way. Suggest you guys have a confidential chat with them, or can we do something else to help them in this area?
So I guess in terms of addressing all that, I mean, I'm thinking big organization, there's so many people. How do you address it all? You know, I mean, with maybe if a smaller company, you might be able to address one-on-one and kind of soothe their pain and their fear. But how do you actually soothe the pain of a lot of people?
You don't.
Okay.
Just like how you can't please everyone, you can't soothe everyone. So as part of my role, when I first enter an organization, I conduct something called a stakeholder analysis, where I map out all the key players. And then through a process of, collective thinking, we identify their power and their influence. So if they are high power, high influence, obviously I'm going to spend a lot of time making sure they're happy. But if they're low power and low influence, I'm not going to sweat it. So I focus the bulk of my energy on those people that have the power and the influence to kill this initiative.
And if it makes, economical sense and it's just the way the business is going to run in the future, as a business owner of large organization or small, you just got to take the leap, right? You're going to make some people unhappy, but if they aren't happy with the decision, and the business could kind of fail if you don't follow through and just trying to impress people, right?
80-20 rule, right? Who are the 20% of those people where 80% of the results are generated? So you want to focus your time on that 20%, not everybody.
Okay. So what does success look like for those people? When you said, okay, well, we'll give it 6 months, see if it works, and did it work for this particular example?
Well, it's still going to this day. So some of the metrics that they used were the cost saving, obviously, the client satisfaction. So there was 360-degree feedback. So were they still happy with offshored resources? There were lots of metrics about headcount, remuneration, and internal metrics such as more intangible stuff like satisfaction.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to offshoring, I love it so much that I feel like it's not really that the strategy is wrong. It's probably might be, outsourcing to the wrong country or to the wrong people. What's your thought on that?
A lot of my thought on that is about, look, if you want to make outsourcing a success, like you actually have to roll up your sleeves and do something too. Like they don't come ready-made perfection. You need to teach them your processes, your policies. They need to get used to your culture, get used to communication style. And most importantly, there has to be crystal clear alignment on expectations. So often that work isn't conducted at the very front, which leads to miscommunication and people being disappointed. It's just because what they expected was up here. They may have expected a Rolls Royce, but their budget was a Corolla.
Oh,
so
yes.
there's a big gap there, you know? So you have to address those issues at the front on. Otherwise, people will call it a failure. It's actually not a failure. It's just mismatched expectations.
Yeah, and that's exactly why our business exists, because we kind of help to kind of minimize all that problem by doing it on behalf of them. So a lot of these organizations, do they engage in an agency or they try to outsource themselves?
Yeah, it really depends on the size of the organizations. Like smaller ones, say under 500 people, I would say they go to an agency. But if they're so large, like the ones I've been in, they usually dedicate an entire team to making this offshoring a success.
So they'll probably even send their team over there to set it all up. But anything under 500, you could be using a company like ours to really shortcut it. But yeah, it's just really interesting to hear that it's so similar in a sense, like your understanding of how to make it work. It's actually so exactly the same way that we saw it. The whole setting up clear procedures, training, and not seeing it as a transaction. It's like, just because you're offshoring doesn't mean you're buying milk, like, quick transaction. You're still, it's a people game, right?
It is a people game. Yeah. And I think you shouldn't underestimate the influence of someone's ethnic culture, because often, they'll nod that they understand, but actually they don't at all. So you need mechanisms in place to kind of validate that that what you've got in your head, your picture of what you want, what you need, is the same as their picture.
That's right. Yeah, culturally they're very different, but also then individually they're all different people. And so it's really about understanding them and then delivering. And that's why one of our key teachings we do with some of our clients is, when something goes wrong, don't quickly think it's the person's fault. It might be your instructions are wrong or you haven't even trained them enough, right?
100%.
Okay, how do people connect with you?
So you can find me on LinkedIn, Friska Wirya. I'm all things change, consulting, speaking, facilitating. Hit me up there. That's my main platform.
So who do you ideally work with out there?
So for consulting, it's usually very large organizations that are making a lot of investments in culture, process, or technology, but need help realizing those benefits. For workshops and facilitation, I've spoken at a lot of conferences about influencing without authority, about cross-cultural communication, and digital transformation.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for being here. I learned so much, and if you can see that big companies are leveraging the power of offshoring, then you too could be trying this out. And to make it work, you just need to kind of invest it in the front, in the beginning, so that you can get all the rewards at the end. Thank you so much for watching.